The little girl stood alone in the scorching midday sun, clutching a small metal box to her chest as the distant rumble of motorcycles echoed across the dusty yard. In front of her, rows of leather-clad men stared down with cold eyes, their jackets marked with the unmistakable emblem of the Mongols. They were not smiling, they were not amused, and yet the tiny girl, barely 8 years old, refused to move. Her shoes were too big for her feet, her dress was faded from too many washes, but her eyes held something stronger than fear. Determination. Because today she had come to buy something no child should ever have to buy. She had come to buy her father back. If you believe that kindness, courage, and second chances can change even the hardest hearts, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Only Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach people who may be waiting for a reminder that humanity still exists. The town of Red Hollow was quiet that afternoon, the kind of quiet that carried tension in the air like a thunderstorm waiting to break. The abandoned scrapyard outside town had become the territory of the Mongols Motorcycle Club months ago. Everyone in Red Hollow knew it, and everyone stayed far away. Trucks drove around it, parents warned their children never to go near it, even the local sheriff preferred not to start trouble there. But the little girl walking toward the rusted gates didn't seem to care about any of that. Her name was Mara Collins, and she had spent the last 2 weeks planning something no adult would dare attempt. Inside the metal box she carried were coins, wrinkled bills, and a few pieces of jewelry that didn't belong to her anymore. They were all she had in the world, every cent she had collected since the day the Mongols took her father. Mara's father had once been known across the highways as Lucas Grave Collins, a proud member of the Hells Angels. In another life, people said he had been fearless, the kind of rider who could cross 3 states overnight and still arrive smiling. But the road had changed him. Years ago, after Mara's mother died, Lucas left the club behind and tried to build a quiet life for his daughter in Red Hollow. He worked as a mechanic, fixed tractors, and avoided the biker wars that still raged beyond the town's borders. For a while, it worked. Until the Mongols came. They rolled into town like a storm of engines and chrome, taking control of the scrapyard and making it clear that anyone who had once worn a rival patch was now their business. Lucas Collins tried to stay invisible, but the past has a way of catching up. One evening he never returned home from the garage. The whispers around town said the Mongols had taken him. No one talked about it openly. No one tried to intervene. But Mara refused to believe her father was gone. For days she waited on the wooden porch of their small house, staring down the road for the sound of his motorcycle. Every sunset broke her heart a little more. Finally, an old mechanic named Vernon told her the truth in a quiet voice. The Mongols had Lucas, and men who were taken by biker gangs didn't usually come back. Most children would have cried. Mara made a plan. She sold her bicycle first, then her comic books, her small radio, and the necklace her mother had once given her. She offered to wash cars, sweep floors, and run errands around town. People tried to refuse her money when they learned why she needed it, but she insisted. If she was going to buy her father back, she wanted it to be real. 2 weeks later she had filled the metal box. Now she stood in front of the Mongols. The scrapyard gates creaked open as a tall biker with a braided beard stepped forward. His vest was heavy with patches and the Mongols' emblem spread across his back like a warning. Around him, other riders watched with mild curiosity, as if a stray kitten had wandered into a wolf den. The man looked down at Mara for a long moment. Then he laughed. The sound echoed off the piles of rusted cars and twisted metal. But Mara didn't flinch. She lifted the box with both hands and opened the lid. Inside, the coins glinted under the harsh daylight. The laughter faded. Word traveled quickly among the bikers gathered in the yard. Soon a circle formed around the girl, engines idling nearby, leather boots crunching on gravel as men leaned closer to see what was happening. Mara's voice was small but steady as she explained why she had come. She told them she knew they had her father. She told them she had brought everything she owned. And she told them she wanted to buy him back. Some of the bikers smirked. Others exchanged uneasy glances. The braided beard biker, whose name was Rourke Madigan, stared down at the box for a long moment. Coins, a few crumpled bills, and 2 small silver rings lay inside. It was the kind of money that wouldn't buy a tank of gas, let alone a man. But something about the way Mara stood there made the yard go strangely quiet. Rourke crouched down until his eyes were level with hers. He asked her if she understood what kind of men she was standing in front of. Mara nodded. She said she knew they were dangerous. She knew they hated Hell's Angels. She knew they had every reason to keep her father. But she also knew something else. Her father wasn't a biker anymore. He was just her dad. The wind carried the distant sound of traffic from the highway as the Mongols' riders shifted uneasily. Some of them had daughters of their own. Some had lost families along the way. But none of them expected to face that reminder standing in their territory. Rourke looked back at the metal box. Then at the girl. Then he stood and called for someone inside the warehouse. Minutes later, two bikers emerged, dragging a tall man whose wrists were bound with zip ties. His beard was untrimmed, his face bruised, and his once broad shoulders sagged with exhaustion. But even in that state, Mara recognized him instantly. Her heart nearly stopped. Lucas Collins looked thinner than she remembered, but his eyes still carried the same quiet strength that had once made people step aside when he walked into a room. When he saw Mara standing in the center of the scrapyard, confusion flashed across his face. Then pure shock. For a moment the world seemed to freeze. Mara stepped forward slowly, the metal box trembling in her hands. She told Rourke everything she had brought was inside. Every coin, every dollar, every piece of jewelry she owned. She asked if it was enough. The yard remained silent. Engines idled softly as dozens of bikers waited for Rourke's decision. Lucas stared at his daughter with disbelief and something deeper, pain. The kind of pain only a parent feels when they realize their child has suffered because of them. Rourke walked to the box and picked it up. The coins clinked softly as he weighed it in his palm. His expression remained unreadable. Finally he closed the lid. He looked around at the gathered Mongols. Then he looked back at Mara. Without saying a word, he tossed the box back into her arms. For a terrifying moment Mara thought she had failed. Then Rourke pulled a knife from his belt and cut the restraints binding Lucas's wrists. Gasps rippled through the yard. Lucas staggered slightly as the zip ties fell away. Rourke spoke only a few quiet words to his men before turning back toward the warehouse. The Mongols stepped aside. Lucas Collins was free. But what happened next was the moment that would stay with Mara for the rest of her life. Lucas slowly knelt in front of his daughter. The hardened biker who had survived countless fights, rival gangs, and endless miles on the road looked into the small face that had just crossed a biker warzone for him. And the first words he spoke stole the breath from her lungs. He told her he was sorry. Not for being captured, not for the scars on his face, but for ever letting her believe she had to face the world alone. Tears rolled down Mara's cheeks as she dropped the metal box and wrapped her arms around him. The scrapyard that had felt like the most dangerous place in the world suddenly became silent again. Even the Mongols' riders looked away. Because sometimes the strongest thing a person can witness is not violence. It is love. Lucas held his daughter tightly under the bright afternoon sun, promising her that no matter what roads lay ahead, they would walk them together. And for the first time in weeks, Mara believed him. Before this story ends, we want to ask you something important. If Mara's courage and her father's redemption touched your heart even a little, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. But before we finish, we have one special request. Please comment the word kindness below if you believe even the hardest hearts can change. Because sometimes the smallest act of love, a little girl standing in a scrapyard with a box of coins, can remind the world what humanity looks like. Stories like this matter, and if this one moved you, your support helps us keep sharing them here on Only Kindness, where every story proves that compassion can appear in the most unexpected places.